We, the members of the Polk County Sheriff's Office, are committed to excellence in providing law enforcement, detention, and public safety services. In partnership with our community, we will serve with integrity, compassion, accountability, and professionalism. October 16, 2023. Polk County Sheriff's Office solves 1986 homicide. Nearly 37 years after 29-year-old Teresa Lee Scalf was brutally murdered in her Lakeland home, the Polk County Sheriff's Office investigation can finally be closed following the analysis of DNA which confirmed the identity of her killer, with assistance from Othram Incorporated, a private lab specializing in forensic genetic genealogy in cold case investigations. PCSO homicide detectives were able to determine that Donald Douglas was responsible for the death of Ms. Scalf. Donald Douglas died of natural causes in 2008 at the age of 54. He was 33 years old at the time of Ms. Scalf's murder. Making the connection was made more difficult since Douglas had no criminal history, and his body was cremated after he died, therefore his DNA was never able to be obtained by law enforcement and put into a database for comparison. The attack and murder of Teresa Scalf occurred in the afternoon of Monday, October 27, 1986. PCSO detectives determined that the attack was sexually motivated. Ms. Scalf's neck had been severely cut, and she had significant defensive wounds on her hands. There were no obvious suspects at the time. Among the evidence that was collected at the scene was some blood that didn't come from the victim. It was submitted and entered into the Combined DNA Index System, CODIS, a consortium of local, state, and national databases of DNA profiles from convicted offenders, unsolved crime scene evidence, and missing persons. For more than 3 decades, the sample remained unmatched to any known individuals. Then, in 2022, the PCSO partnered with Othram Incorporated on the case. Othram Incorporated analyzed the suspect's blood and they were able to narrow the scope to distant relatives of the still unknown suspect. Interviews were conducted with those relatives, and eventually detectives narrowed their search down to close relatives of Donald Douglas, who lived directly behind Ms. Scalf at the time of her murder. Douglas had been interviewed by detectives in 1986 during a routine canvass, but at that time, there was no evidence to link him to the murder. The direct connection to the identity of the murderer came about after detectives obtained a sample of DNA from a son of Donald Douglas. The results of a genetic analysis of the DNA confirmed that the blood found at the murder scene did indeed belong to Donald Douglas, because the DNA profile indicated a 100% confidence of a parent/child biological relationship compared to Douglas' son's DNA profile. We are extremely grateful for the assistance from Othram Incorporated, who provided us with multiple investigative leads and ultimately the missing genetic evidence needed to bring this investigation to a successful conclusion. With their help, our detectives were able to negotiate through a family tree that led to the identity of Teresa Scalf's killer. I want to thank Mr. Douglas' son, who was cooperative and willing to assist our detectives. Thanks to Othram Incorporated, our detectives' hard work, and Mr. Douglas' cooperation, we were able to help bring long-awaited closure to Teresa Scalf's devastated family. Grady Judd, Sheriff. The State Attorney Office 10th Judicial Circuit determined the case should be cleared as solved with the offender deceased. PCSO homicide detectives informed Ms. Scalf's family of the results of the investigation. October 31, 2023. 10 kilograms of fentanyl trafficked from Sinaloa, Mexico seized during multi-agency drug trafficking organization investigation. 3 Mexican men living in Hillsborough County, 2 of them in the United States illegally, have been arrested and charged with trafficking in fentanyl during a multi-agency investigation. Multiple law enforcement agencies collaborated during the investigation, resulting in the 3 arrests and the seizure of 10 kilograms of fentanyl. The street value of the 10 kilos of fentanyl is approximately $2,500,000. 10 kilograms is enough fentanyl to kill 5 million people if taken in overdose amounts. These drugs are extremely dangerous, and the people bringing them across an unsecure border are evil. Of the 3 men arrested during this investigation, 2 are in the country illegally, and the Sinaloa cartel drug trafficking organization is the source of supply for this poison. I am very thankful for our local, state, and national law enforcement partners, including state prosecutors, Mr. Haas and Ms. Lopez, for working together to make this a successful investigation. Grady Judd, Sheriff. Due to the continued refusal of the Biden administration to address the border crisis he created, states like Florida are forced to pick up the slack, said Governor Ron DeSantis. The fentanyl taken off our streets today is enough to kill 5 million Floridians, and is yet another demonstration of how the federal government has failed to protect U.S. citizens. Thank you to the Polk County Sheriff's Office, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, and all the men and women who dedicate their lives to keeping our communities safe. Enough fentanyl to kill 5 million Floridians made its way from Mexico across our wide open border and into our state, but thanks to the great police work by Sheriff Judd and FDLE, it is now off our streets along with the illegal immigrants who were trafficking it. This major drug bust was bolstered by the State Assistance for Fentanyl Eradication in Florida program, which we supported during this year's legislative session. Further proof that Florida continues to lead, even while the federal government refuses to do its job, secure the border and keep these deadly substances from killing Americans. Ashley Moody, Florida Attorney General. The investigation revealed the seized fentanyl was illegally brought into the United States from the Sinaloa, Mexico region by the Sinaloa Cartel Drug Trafficking Organization to Compton, California, to Riverview, Florida, and then to Polk County. Those agencies participating in the investigation are Polk County Sheriff's Office, Florida Department of Law Enforcement, Florida Attorney General's Office, Attorney General Ashley Moody, Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, Florida Highway Patrol, United States Customs and Border Protection, United States Department of Homeland Security, 10th Judicial Circuit State Attorney's Office, Brian Haas, State Attorney, and 13th Judicial Circuit State Attorney's Office, Susan S. Lopez, State Attorney. Arrested during the investigation are Juan Manuel Gutierrez Medina, DOB, September 29, 1968, 12008 Anderson Drive, Riverview, Florida. Charges: trafficking fentanyl over 28 grams. He has a prior arrest in California, Los Angeles, in 2002 for DUI. He is from Mexico and is in the United States illegally. The United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement has placed a hold on Gutierrez Medina. Ruperto Rocha, DOB, September 21, 1958, 3417 Ridge Road, Wimauma, Florida. Charges: trafficking fentanyl over 28 grams. His criminal history includes a criminal traffic charge in 1998 in Hardy County. Transporting illegal aliens, Del Rio, Texas, 1981, convicted, 3-month sentence. Home invasion/armed violence/ag battery, 1989, Belvidere, Illinois. And aggravated battery, Lockport Correctional, Illinois, 1990. Convicted, 5-year sentence. Rocha has an unknown resident alien status. Juan Manuel Contreras Gutierrez, DOB, September 6, 1998, 12008 Anderson Drive, Riverview, Florida. Charges: trafficking fentanyl over 28 grams. Contreras Gutierrez criminal history includes possession of drugs without a prescription. 2021, Marion County, robbery 1st degree and grand theft. Convicted, 5 years probation. 2018, Los Angeles, California. Contreras Gutierrez is in the United States illegally. He was ordered removed by an immigration judge on November 19, 2020. And deported back to Mexico on November 23, 2020. On November 28, 2020 he was encountered again trying to illegally enter The United States, he was again sent back to Mexico. Contreras Gutierrez re-entered the United States illegally. At an unknown time after deportation. HITA Task Force/Multi-Agency Drug Trafficking Organization investigation. The investigation was initiated in the month of September, with Polk County Sheriff's Office detectives acting in an undercover capacity, working with Florida Department of Law Enforcement special agents. Detectives made contact with a suspected drug trafficker, Juan Manuel Gutierrez Medina, who resides in Riverview, Florida. Detectives arranged to purchase large quantities of fentanyl with Medina. During the investigation, detectives completed drug transactions with Medina, Ruperto Rocha, and Juan Gutierrez Contreras. At one point during the investigation, Gutierrez Medina was tracked traveling by vehicle to Compton, California, and then back to Florida. The Florida Highway Patrol, in concert with the investigation, arrested him in Suwannee County on October 18, 2023. On his way back to Central Florida, detectives met with Ruperto in Bartow on October 12, and he was arrested without incident for trafficking fentanyl. On October 20, detectives met Juan Gutierrez Contreras in Riverview, where he delivered 6 kilograms of fentanyl to undercover detectives. On October 25, detectives arranged to meet again with Gutierrez Contreras in the Riverview area, working with the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office. He was arrested and charged with trafficking fentanyl over 28 grams. An ICE hold has been placed on him due to his illegal status. The investigation has been conducted with the assistance of the State Financial Assistance for Fentanyl Eradication, S.A.F.E. Florida program managed by the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. In 2023, the Florida legislature established state funding for the S.A.F.E. program to conduct investigations designed to combat illegal fentanyl trafficking. The grant provides financial support and assistance for approved fentanyl-related investigative costs, such as overtime, travel, investigative supplies and equipment, and training. FDLE Commissioner Mark Glass said, "These arrests are the first in Florida using grant money from the State Assistance for Fentanyl Eradication, SAFE, program. The grant provides money for local law enforcement agencies in fentanyl and drug trafficking investigations. Never has there been a time when shutting down a drug trafficking organization has been more important. While these cases are usually very expensive to investigate, this grant means money won't be a barrier. Thank you to Governor Ron DeSantis and our lawmakers for empowering law enforcement to work more drug investigations, making Florida safer by taking fentanyl and these dangerous drug traffickers off our streets." Equality before the law, also known as equality under the law. Equality in the eyes of the law, legal equality, or legal egalitarianism, is the principle that all people must be equally protected by the law. The rule of law is a political ideal that all citizens and institutions within a country, state, or community are accountable to the same laws, including lawmakers and leaders. It is sometimes stated simply as no one is above the law.